Thank you for joining us today, Mr. Almaeena. Can you give us a sense of, in broad terms, some of the main domestic challenges facing the National Transformation Program of Saudi Arabia?
I will start is the main challenge would be societal development, how society is going to progress within the framework of what is happening around us. So the challenge is first to find out what are your main issues and prioritize them. I think the first thing would be the youth, jobs for them, women's participation. Another thing is that is very important for all of us is the environment, the threat of water scarcity. We don't speak much about it, but most of our water comes from desalination plants. And in this stage of warfare and viruses and computers and all, this is, to me, is very important. The other, topping all this would be the lower oil prices. So what we have to do now, the challenge is to have fiscal responsibility and good governance.
Saudi Arabia faces an array of challenges, both internal and international challenges, coming from within and from without. Even though the NTP is a very ambitious program, is it sufficient to meet the challenges? I mean, is there still going to be a tremendous amount left to be done? And if so, what beyond this plan needs to be tackled? I suppose that's what I'm really getting at.
I think the challenges are many, and to go beyond this is we have to realize not at 2030 what is after that. I think the main thing too also is the rising population numbers. This is very important. And before, when you spoke about population curbs or control, you would be attacked by the religious stick and saying this is haram and this is a sin and all. This is very important for Saudi foreign policymakers, domestic policymakers, to look into this societal challenge. The one thing that the national program that has happened, the 2030, also should not overlook the political process and the economic process and the stakeholders and the participation by people. It is not a company, it is a country with society.
There is a lot of social change that seems built into the transformation program that's implicit rather than explicit, but that will have to emerge in the course of the development if the economic goals are to be met. For example, integration of women more into society, into the market, into the economic life of the country, etc. It's to be expected, I suppose, that there's socially conservative forces that would resist those kinds of dramatic changes. Do we anticipate considerable pushback? And if so, how do you think that's going to be addressed and overcome?
One of the two sides has to blink. It's a Mexican standoff. I mean, it's, I always am reminded when they talk about these things, the Saudi king or the Saudi authorities, it's like Gary Cooper in High Noon. And this is, you have to come out, because if we have to attain our goals or partially some of the goals, I think it's very important for us to really deface all what has been happening in the name of religion, what has been happening in the face of conservatism, and involve stakeholders and call it an open field and let those who want to contribute come forward. But again, this needs also political involvement and social involvement from the people. So many of the critics who spoke about the 2030 said that this is like a corporation, that we are a country, there are people, so there are many stakeholders involved.
So the program as it is now is mainly a top-down agenda. In other words, its vision is laid out at the top, and then it effects trickle down and percolate through society. That's the idea. Is there a parallel bottom-up phenomenon going on, or is it really going to have to flow only in one direction?
Well, fortunately or unfortunately, in that part of the world, the decision-making process starts from up-down. But in this case, because you have a plan needs participants, it needs people, it needs partners. The partners are the people, and I think you can have all these plans on paper, you can have all these bureaucrats and all these foreign companies that have come and given you advice and taken the due revenue for that, I think it's important that that plan has to come from down up too, and to involve people, make them feel that they are important to this plan.
How would you do that? Do you have any specific suggestions? I mean, is it a matter of communication? Is it a matter of giving people the tools to do that? I mean, how would that work in a country like Saudi Arabia?
It's both. It's communication. It's the government telling people, we want you to participate, we want your advice, to make guilds, to make associations, to listen to people, and to bypass bureaucracy. Because with all this saying, and you've heard this before, having people to come in and invest and one-stop shopping. I mean, if the bureaucrats don't believe in it, and if the people don't have the right or they don't have the vehicle for getting the viewpoint across, I don't think so it will work. So it has to be a two-way solution and a two-way street.
So you're talking about opening, significantly opening the society to much more kind of broader civil society development here.
Yes, suppression will get you nowhere. I mean, unless you have a society that feels that they are stakeholders, that they are participants, that they are valued people, you know, they will not go. I mean, you can't rule by force, and which in this case is not happening. They have been very good having PR programs, telling the people, but all this revolves around ministries, companies, corporations. I wanted to filter down where people would involve, where the man on the street will say, hey, what's going to happen to my daughter in 2030? Where the businessman will say, okay, am I going to get some more measures of business freedom? These are the kind of issues that are needed to be looked into.
Last question has to do with the United States. And the question is, what role can the United States play in facilitating, supporting, making the transformation work? And also, what's the sort of state of U.S.-Saudi relations right now? And how does the transformation fit into that? So it's a complicated question, but still, it all comes together, I think.
Yes, I think the United States can help a lot in facilitating the mechanics of the transformation, where big businesses should be given modern forms and modern methods of management, where there should be information exchange, where they would like to come and help in and do a few things and try to make a business practices, the modern business practices and the best business practices, that per se. The other thing that the United States can do is help in not setting up NGOs or civil society, but help facilitate them and help move them on and advise and guide. Now, saying that, I mean, we, are not a banana kingdom,
right.
But at the same time, I think we do need help in creating the society which exists both on paper and in practice, but we always need help and advice from others, not only the United States. I would also opt for the Asian experience.
Sure.
Like, for example, we have water problems, we have other issues, the environment, and I think it's important for us to see NGOs and others from around the globe to help us. So I think yes, and we should not be riding on our high horse.
Right.
It's important that we need not only the United States but other countries as partners to help let society grow and flourish.
And what is the condition of U.S.-Saudi relations right now? Have they been improving after a difficult patch, or is this still a long way to go?
Well, I think there are a long way to go. It's like a dysfunctional marriage. I think also the Saudis for years assumed, rightly or wrongly, that the United States is a friend forever. And I've said it to both those in power and outside, that there are no permanent interests. There are no permanent friends or enemies. There are only permanent interests. And I give you so many examples. But the question is, we have come to that stage a long time ago, maybe 40 years ago, that the U.S. is a friend for life. They're not. The U.S. now has more interest in Asia. They would look more at Vietnam and Cambodia, where you've got an 8 to 10% growth rate. You don't want to look at India for geopolitical purposes, Pakistan, Iran, and all. So we should not assume, rightly or wrongly, that we are the only wife that they have. This was unfortunately the policymakers, the total banking on the United States. And for years, this thing disturbed me and many others. You cannot just bank on one country where your own people are getting upset.
Yeah.
There is a disconnect between those in power and the people. And it is very obvious through social media, through the media and others, because the U.S. is viewed as a power that is depriving the Palestinian people of their rights. Although now the Palestinian question has receded a little bit in the background, the U.S. viewed, again, rightly or wrongly, as having started ISIS and other issues and not taking part. So I don't think so. We should have all our hopes on the United States. I think we have to get our act together. We have to have good governance. We have to fight against extremism. I mean, this is our battle. You cannot just continue. At the same time, we have to look at the United States as an equal partner, not just buying arms from them. I'm against arming countries without, first of all, arming the society. And here I'm not talking about weapons, arming the society with tools of education, with rights, dues. These are the kind of issues that I would rather go for.
Excellent. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're most grateful.